Welcome to Module 3 in the 2021 Test Security Training Series. OSSI's Office of Assessment has developed a series of training modules to prepare LEA assessment coordinators for the Spring 2021 Statewide Assessment Administration. There are 6 required training modules. These modules are required for all LEA test coordinators, including those responsible for access and alternate access, MSAA, and Parcc. The modules follow an order of activities in the assessment coordination timeline. Upon completion of all training modules, LEA test coordinators will need to complete a quiz and certification form verifying that they have reviewed all content. A score of 80% or higher on the quiz will serve as the official attendance and completion of the 2021 Test Security Training Series. In Module 3, we will cover Part 2 of Preparing for Test Administration. The assessment coordination timeline shows the activities needed in order to complete statewide assessment administration in the District of Columbia. The color and shape of each icon indicates who is performing each task. Each training module provides detailed information on the activities in the assessment coordination timeline. In this module, we will cover the steps highlighted in the orange dotted line. The first step that we will cover in this module is creating a school test schedule. Each school is required to prepare a testing schedule for each statewide assessment they plan to administer. Test schedules are required for in-person administrations as well as for Parcc remote administration. Each schedule must be submitted to OSSI as part of their school test security plans. We acknowledge scheduling may look different due to the impact of the pandemic, and schools should follow health and safety guidelines for in-person setup. A template is available in the OSSI School Test Security Plan QuickBase application, but schools may choose to use their own schedule format as long as it includes all required elements. Those elements are the following: testing days, testing times, grades and courses, testing locations, including room numbers or remote if it's a remote setting, test administrator names, proctor names if applicable, and Pearson Access Next or PAN test sessions if applicable for Parcc administration. If your testing schedule changes or a list of authorized personnel changes, please update those attachments in your school test security plan. If you have a change in setting from in-person or remote or vice versa, a new test security plan should be submitted. Due to the changing nature of school schedules, we are prepared for these type of changes to occur. A test security reminder: the most updated version of the school test schedule must be uploaded into the school test plan QuickBase application at all times. OSSI will use these schedules to determine staff support and deadlines for OSSI deliverables. LEA and or school test coordinators will create an access and alternate access testing schedule. If you need assistance on how to create an access or alternate access testing schedule, please review the testing schedule tutorial via WIDA's website at the link posted on this slide. A few things to consider when creating an access or alternate access schedule. All testing must be completed by April 9th, 2021. Kindergarten and alternate access test sessions should be scheduled as one-on-one sessions. If you have any questions about access scheduling or need help getting access to the WIDA AMS system, please contact Michael Craig at michael.craig@dc.gov. LEA and or school test coordinators will need a testing schedule for MSAA administration. Some things to consider when planning the MSAA testing schedule. Test administration for MSAA is one-on-one. MSAA test schedules may consist of 1 or 2 items at a time or 10 or more items depending on the student's ability level. Test administrators may pause the MSAA test at any time based on the student's needs. Students are allowed to take breaks whenever they are needed, and breaks may consist of a few minutes or a few days. All MSA testing must be completed by April 30th, 2021. LEA and school test coordinators will create a testing schedule for Parcc. A few things to consider when planning to create a Parcc test schedule. New in 2021, the Parcc test schedule may be at any time within the state's test window. This is a departure from previous year's policy that Parcc test windows could only be scheduled for 30 consecutive days within the state's test window. Unit and unit times can be found in the Parcc Test Coordinator Manual linked to this slide. Different from previous year's administrations, there will be no field testing this year. Accommodated paper testing must be completed by May 21st, 2021. Online testing must be completed by May 28, 2021. A reminder, school test schedules need to be completed for both remote and in-person testing as applicable at a school. The next step that we will discuss is setting up test sessions. Before testing can begin, students must be assigned to the testing session in many of the online assessment systems. Test sessions allow the LEA and school test coordinators to group students who are testing together and to schedule and manage student testing in the online platform. Test schedules need to be created for both in-person and remote settings. Access is a computer-based assessment and requires that students and staff information is loaded into the system. WIDA AMS is the online platform used for test administration and materials management. School test coordinators are responsible for confirming all students are listed in WIDA AMS and assigned to test sessions, and adding any new students to WIDA AMS and assigning them to test sessions. Students taking MSAA must be assigned to testing sessions called classrooms for testing. This allows the test administrator to obtain testing and login information for students. School test coordinators can assign students and test administrators to classrooms using the MSAA online assessment system. Each student taking Parcc must be assigned to a test session in the Parcc Access Next or PAN system. Directions for setting up test sessions can be found in the Parcc Test Coordinator's Manual. Test sessions must be created in the format of the naming convention detailed below prior to the approval of the school test security plan. Each test session that is created must be assigned a test administrator. The use of a test administrator naming convention below is also required. You can see the naming conventions in the table presented in the slide. You can see the field name that will show up in the Pearson SRP&P file. The naming convention and the sample for each of the fields are also provided on the slide. A test security reminder. Please ensure that testing sessions have been accurately created before submitting a school test security plan. OSCE will review test sessions to ensure that they are complete before the test plan can be approved. The next step that we will cover in this module is to set up student testing devices. Prior to testing, student devices must be prepared for test administration. Technology coordinators should review the technical specifications for each assessment and ensure that devices are ready. If your school is preparing for remote testing, it is still the responsibility of the LEA and school to ensure that students have devices that are prepared and ready to test. Things to consider when the LEA and school and technology coordinator plan for device preparation. Review device requirements. Update device software if needed, and download applications or create shortcuts to website links. Ensure appropriate bandwidth for administration as well. Failure to complete these steps appropriately could result in testing delays and student device issues. WIDA AMS is an online platform used for test administration and materials management. Technology coordinators are responsible for installing the Central Office Service, or COS, a service device, or SD, on all testing devices. Please refer to the Technology User Guide for support. MSAA is a computer-based assessment managed through the MSAA online assessment system. Students take the assessment through this platform. Before testing, test administrators should log into the MSAA online assessment system to ensure that the computer, laptop, or tablet login information and any necessary assessment features are working as intended. Please make sure that the computer and any AAC and assistive technology devices a student may use meets the minimum requirements, are in working order, and available for testing. Refer to the MSAA Access System User Guide for test administrators, linked in this slide, for information on compatibility and other requirements. The Parcc Assessment is a computer-based test. Student testing devices must be able to access the internet in order to successfully take the Parcc Assessment. New in 2021, in addition to the TestNav application that has been used in previous years, Parcc assessments will be able to be administered using a web browser via Chrome, Safari, Firefox, or Microsoft Edge. Schools that are administering Parcc remotely are to develop a plan to make sure the devices being used by students meet hardware and software specifications. For details about compatibility between TestNav and the devices used at your school, read the TestNav system requirements. To better understand how to use TestNav, visit the TestNav online user guide. The next step that we will cover is submitting school test security plans to OSSE. OSSE requires every school that will administer a statewide assessment to complete and submit a school test security plan prior to the start of the school's testing window. The school test security plan serves as an official communication with OSSE of a school's plan for administering statewide assessments. School plans must be submitted to OSSE for final approval at least 15 business days prior to the first day of testing. Each school's test security plan must include the following information: names and contact information for test coordinators and key test administration staff, a secure materials management plan, a plan for school staff and authorized personnel to report irregularities in test administration and security, a plan for school staff to conduct inquiries on reported test irregularities during test administration, an affirmation that school staff are aware and have access to the complete list of prohibitive actions, a plan for handling logistical, technical, and communication issues that may arise during test administration, affirmation that the school has met a number of actions as required by the state, an affirmation that test sessions and test administrators have been entered into PAN for Parcc test plans only, a list of all authorized personnel, and a detailed testing schedule. As a reminder, if your testing schedule changes or your list of authorized personnel changes, please update those attachments in your school test security plan. OSSE reviews and approves all school test plans and provides technical assistance to schools whose plans need improvement prior to and during testing. Over the years, we have identified characteristics of strong and weak school test plans. Strong school test plans are plans that are clear and organized. The responses are thoughtful and tailored to the unique circumstances that your school may need. Strong test plans are also thorough and have complete sentences and are easily decipherable. Additionally, school test plans will only be approved when the following things are attached and complete: the complete authorized personnel list, the school test schedule, and for Parcc specifically, a completed SRP&P file with test sessions, test administrators, locations, accommodations, and test administrators. On the converse, plans that are returned for edits are the opposite. They may be disorganized or difficult to understand. They are incomplete, or full of half responses, or responses full of shorthand or acronyms that are not clearly defined. We return plans for revisions if the responses are generic or conflict with the circumstances of the school. We have seen test plans that copy responses from OSSI's posted school test plan exemplar verbatim, and when they conflict with the circumstances of the schools, we will return those plans as well. Our intention is to improve test plans on their first iterations, but we will not hesitate to push back plans for revisions if answers are unclear, insufficient, or incomplete. There are a number of supports that OSSI provides to aid LEAs and school coordinators to complete and submit school test security plans. Those supports include a supplemental school test plan module. OSSI has recorded a school test plan instructional video that walks LEAs through the school test security plan application and goes over things that are needed to complete that process. We also have a school test plan instructional document, a school test plan exemplar, which gives responses for each of the questions that are asked in the test plan, an authorized personnel and test schedule template. We also will have office hours throughout the winter and early spring for LEAs and schools to seek individual support. All school test plan support documents can be located at OSSI's Test Security and Incident Reports webpage. The school test plan QuickBase application can be accessed at the link shown here. If you need access to the QuickBase application or have any questions about the process, please contact Shannon Bell at shannon.bell@dc.gov. A test security reminder. Typically, test plans are submitted 15 business days before the first day of testing. We understand that there may be changes in sticking to the traditional timeline due to the rapidly changing landscape at schools. OSSI is prepared to work with schools and LEAs in order to get the plans approved. However, testing cannot begin until school test security plans are approved by OSSI. The next step we will cover is to train authorized personnel. LEA or the school test coordinators must train all authorized personnel on test security and administration policies and practices prior to the start of test administration. As a reminder, OSSI follows a train-the-trainer model for test security training, meaning OSSI provides training to the LEA test coordinator, and then the LEA test coordinator must train the school coordinator. Depending on the needs and decisions of the LEA, the school test coordinator would then train authorized personnel, or the LEA coordinator can choose to train the school coordinator and all authorized personnel at schools. One thing to note, if the school test coordinator will be training school staff, the LEA test coordinator must first train the school coordinator before they can train others. OSSI does not have specific requirements for the method the LEA or school coordinator chooses to use to train authorized personnel at the school. Example, a PowerPoint, a video module like this, in-person training, or whatever works for the school. One option that some LEAs and schools choose is to use this training that OSSI provides as the basis of their trainings. OSSI will post both the PDF and PowerPoint version of this training and will post it on the Test Security and Incident Report website. While there is not a requirement for the way authorized personnel must be trained, there are a number of items that must be covered during the training. Those requirements include the distribution of the test integrity and security notification statement for all authorized personnel, a review of the school test plan, a review of the test security guidelines, review of the test administration procedures, and review of the vendor-supplied testing manuals. Some additional information about authorized personnel test security training. Individuals that need to be trained are the test monitors, test administrators, test proctors, and any additional staff that may come in contact with students during testing. Those people could be nurses, custodial staffs, office managers, or any other person who may come in contact with students while they're testing. As a reminder, parents and caregivers who are supporting students at home are not considered authorized personnel, test administrators, or proctors, and they do not need to be trained in test security. Once training is completed, schools and LEAs can document that it has happened by putting the following information in their test security files: any training materials, whatever method the school uses to certify attendance or take attendance, and a copy of the test integrity and security notification statement. A test security reminder. All authorized personnel must receive test security training before test administration can begin. Test security training dates must be entered in the school test security plans. The Access Assessment is administered to small groups or individual students by a trained test administrator. The Access Test Administrator Manual provides testing times, guidance for room setup, information about materials, and directions on how to use the online testing system. Test administrators must take the following actions prior to administering via the Access Assessment. They must view online training modules, complete an online assessment quiz, and pass with a score of 80% or higher. This is only for first-time test administrators. But all test administrators must read a certify in the speaking domains for grades 1 through 12. The MSAA is administered to individual students by a test administrator. The directions for test administration provide scripts and instructions and should be used throughout the testing process. Test administrators must take the following actions prior to administering the MSAA. They must view the online testing module, complete the training module quizzes, and pass with a score of 80 or higher. The Parcc Assessments do not require test administrators to complete online training prior to serving in this role during test administration. Test administrators receive their test security and administration training from their LEA or school test coordinator. OSSI offers additional training that support new and experienced test coordinators. Optional Parcc training can be found at the link provided here. The final step we'll cover in Module 3 is to send assessment notification letters to families. Every school is required to send home a notification letter to families letting them know that their students will participate in statewide assessments. A sample letter is available on OSSI's website, and it may be used or modified to fit the needs of your school. The following information must be included in the letter. School and LEAs must provide families with the letter regarding the dates and the purpose of statewide assessments. Copies of the letters must be sent home and must also be kept. A copy must also be kept in the test security file. And a template with English and other translated versions of the letter will be available on OSSI's website for school use. OSSI is also providing guidance language for families for remote Parcc administration as well. A test security reminder. Please ensure that a copy of the notification letter to families is included in the test security file for every school. This completes Module 3 of this training series. Please move on to Module 4, where we will cover test administration setup and monitoring. If you have any questions about OSSI assessment policies or specific assessment programs, please feel free to reach out to the appropriate member of the Aussie Assessment team. Thank you.